Alright, so in this video, I'm going to show you how I use AI to help streamline the development of my apps. And I'm just going to walk you through the major components as we have in this diagram here. And at each point, we're going to look at the document that I'm building. So if it says prompt here, I'll show you the prompt. These buckets here indicate the output of the prompt for that specific LLM. So the orange will represent Claude, and the black squares will represent ChatGPT. And we'll just go through each component. So high level, we're going to start off with a prompt that's just asking the LLM to build us a product requirements document. And in the real world working conditions, in the corporate environment especially, your PM will be tasked with building a product requirements document that they hand off to the engineering team. And it just goes through the app journey of the expected behavior of the app, the different user personas, what features to expect, what's in scope, what's out of scope. So we're going to have the LLMs generate that prompt or generate that document. After that document, we're going to then focus on the app flow. So that's going to take it to the next level where we're describing the user journey throughout the application, such as when they sign up, they tap this button, they go through this auth process, when they're on the landing screen or secondary screens, how they navigate from one screen to the next. All of that will be documented in our app flow prompt, in our app flow document, and I'll show the prompt that kicks off that document flow as well. And finally, we're going to build ERD documents, which is the engineering requirements document, and it's just as it sounds. We're going to build out like the technical requirements that are needed to build out the app, and we'll pass in a prompt for both Claude and ChatGPT. And I have some tabs here to kind of represent everything as we walk through it. So what I like to do is start with the app screenshots. So I use this website called Mobbin. Boy, there we go. And the app that we're going to look at, I believe it's called My Quit. It's like a smoking addiction application. And given that there's not too many screens, I thought this would be perfect for our demo use case. What I like to do is I like to open this up, take a quick screenshot with like the Mac tools, and I just take these small screenshots and I build up the screenshots for all of the screens that I want to build. So I want to build this landing screen, these onboarding screens, the home screen. So I've already done all of this. And if you're watching this and I'm going through a lot of steps, I will be packaging all of these prompts and these assets for you in a link in the description. So if you have a chance and you want to follow along, just download that. But yeah, for now, I'm just going to walk you through what I did. So I took screenshots of the screenshots from this design website called Mobbin. Really great because they just provide screenshots of popular apps. I chose this the smoking addiction app because I thought it was pretty simple. So yeah, we're going to do the tracking, progress, and for the purposes of this demo, I'm not going to include the community. I think that just adds another complex layer of complexity that I'm not looking to do. So I'm just going to focus on account, progress, and tracking. All right. So let's go back to our main document here. So as I mentioned, we're going to feed this into our prompt for both the LLMs. And let's take a look at the prompt that I've built. So the format is, I directly tell the LLM, hey, I'm looking to build a smoking addiction coach iOS app. I give it a role. I think that's something that's really important when you're directing the LLMs is to establish a role that it is taking on. So it can begin to kind of build the context of what you're asking it to output. I told it, for simplicity, we're going to stick to Apple sign-in. So when they sign up, User will just have to tap one button. When the user signs up, they're taken to these onboarding questions. What is the cost of your pack? How many cigarettes do you smoke a day? And all of that is coming from the screenshots that I grabbed. So it's just building more context, like it can read these screenshots pretty well, and you'll see that with the outputs coming up. And I'm just like reiterating and solidifying the context that I want it to follow. So when the user answers each question by pressing next, I want the user to navigate to the next screen. So once again, just driving home the use cases that I want to see. So once both questions are answered, they're immediately taken to home, which is the tracking screen. And it's the landing screen of the logged in user. The page has a tab view at the bottom with the following tabs. So yeah, once again, no need to copy all this down. I'll share this in the doc. Just grab it from the link in the description. And I do this for each tab essentially, like the work stream or the workflow on the tracking tab, the workflow on the progress tab, and this just relates back to the screenshots that we picked up from Mobbin. Okay, so now near the end, I tell it, hey, please include the app overview when they're writing up this requirements doc. Please include the user journey, the core features, some of the non-functional requirements such as performance, security, reliability. These are all things that are very important in a production level environment. I think a lot of the AI demos that you've seen on YouTube and other places so far are kind of just, very basic implementation, but I'm going to take us through from idea stage all the way to the App Store in this series. So if you want to continue seeing all of this, just subscribe to the channel and stay up to date with this series of me just building apps from prompting all the way to App Store, and they'll be production level with full-on test cases and everything. Okay, so I'm asking each LLM to produce like a corporate level PRD with all of these like important pieces. I tell it to please follow the instructions and only include what I asked it to do. Do not worry about user acquisition. Sometimes it likes to jump the gun and think about like how do we acquire users and all that stuff, but we're only here to just build out the apps. We're not here to handle marketing. And I've also told it to be conscious of the screenshots that we're attaching. So I will show what each LLM produced. So I passed the same prompt into both Claude and to ChatGPT. Let's first look at Claude. Okay, so it went ahead and shared a document here. I hope you all can see it. Once again, if you can't see this, no worries. Just download the documents from the link in the description. It goes through and it talks about the app overview, which is nice. A little bit about the user journey. That checks out. That checks out. Core features off. Onboarding, tracking. So far, so good. It captured the circular progress chart. So this chart right here, this one right here. When they are logged in and the user is trying to understand like how many cigarettes they have left in their day-to-day flow. So it's done a decent job. It's talked about the weekly progress. I've read through it and I've understood what it's trying to communicate to me. One thing that I did not like about the Claude output, the PRD here, is that it brought in the community component, and that just goes to show you that it does a great job of reading the documents, the screenshots. Like it can read like the screenshots without any design files, which is amazing. But I wanted it to stick to the features that I outlined in that prompt, that initial prompt of like, hey, only focus on these three main features, which were the tracking, the progress, and the account page. I did not want to include the community tab. So in my experience, the Claude Sonnet 3.7 model has been a little code eager. And in some cases, this is a great thing. It's maybe catching things that's in your blind side. But for the use case of specific task that I wanted to do, I didn't like this output. Um, and it talked about these other components of the PRD that I asked it to produce. So that's really great. So yeah, I would give this like a 3.5 out of 5 if I had to rate it. And now let's take a look at the PRD that ChatGPT produced. So it gave a nice overview, talked about what the goal of the app is, what its main features are. So I really appreciated the understanding here. I'd give that like a check. User journey, it's very clear on what tapping each element on the screen, what it causes, what's the effect of doing that action. So that's a really good sign for me. This all looks great. Talks about the full history button. That looks great. Core features. It walks through all of the different flows. Once again, that looked really good. And it did not bring in this community feature, which is awesome. Once again, I wanted it to be one-to-one with what I asked it in the prompt, so I really appreciated them not introducing scope. Okay, yeah, this looks good. I'm stepping into the footsteps of a product manager here, and I am agreeing with what I'm seeing. So taking it back to our original diagram, I went ahead and gave the ChatGPT PRD like a 4.5 out of 5 for what I was looking for. So in this case, like I chose to move forward with the ChatGPT response, and I'm going to feed that into the AppFlow document prompt. So this AppFlow document prompt is that I just want it to confirm that it understands like what the workflow of the user journey will be. These are things that we'll be passing into Cursor later down the road, all of these documents, because once again, it just triples down on the context that we want to share with our coding agent later on. So it's pretty clear on what instructions it needs to take, and it has all the context that it needs to make good decisions when we're seeing it write code, and it'll reduce the overhead of us having to review and update all of its mistakes. So we're trying to reduce the number of mistakes here, big picture, by just really getting granular with this context building. All right. So the prompt that I shared with each LLM is I'm building a smoking addiction app. I would like for you to build me an AppFlow document. The AppFlow document should have the full map of the app, the full mapping of the app, describe each page of the app, how users move from one screen to another. I want it with simple language, no bullets, and I want it painfully specific. And I have a PRD along with screenshots to help. So as you can see, I'm just like building on the context from what we had previously. So before this stage, we had screenshots, and we also had the outputted PRD that we selected from ChatGPT. So now we're going to, going back here, we're going to pass that into both the Claude LLM and the ChatGPT LLM. And if I didn't specify the models earlier, that's my bad. I'm using Claude Sonnet 3.7 here. And for ChatGPT, I'm using O1. I find that these models are pretty good about like doing more of the context building as opposed to the coding. And when we get to the coding part of this series, I will talk more about the models that I've found success using. Okay, so now let's take a look at Claude Sonnet 3.7. And this is the AppFlow document that it produced. And just so we are clear here, I asked it specifically to not provide any bullets. I wanted it to be simple language. So right off the bat, like I'm noticing bullets, and there's like some language in here that seems a little inflated and kind of unnecessary. I wanted like pretty much a dumbed down version of what the user journey is, and it's okay. It's very granular here. It's pretty specific. It's not bad. Like you could run with this. This is not a big deal. The issue again is that it keeps bringing in this community screen, and it specifically says like, while not detailed in the PRD that you provided me, I'm still going to add it here anyway. So for me, this is a big red flag. So maybe in the future, if I do another LLM, um, an LLM comparison, I might stick with like 3.5 in the future. But yeah, this goes to show you just got to be flexible. It's hard to like have solid reproducibility with these things, but just be on the lookout, because if you're coding, you might miss something like this, and that could throw off your project. So yeah, it introduced scope here, which I did not like. So yeah, just be aware of that. So it goes through each screen and it shares what the journey is. Once again, I'd give it like a 3 out of 5. Not terrible. You could probably still use it and build out the MVP of this, but I wanted something, more clean, like more specific. So let's go to ChatGPT's response, and this is exactly what I was looking for. Just like kind of like paragraph form, no bullets, just like talking through what happens when the user is like using the app, and it's pretty simple. It reads like a nice few paragraphs, and yeah, this is exactly what I was looking for. So let's go back to our main diagram. So if you're sticking with me, we're now at this phase here where we've accepted the ChatGPT PRD over the Claude PRD, and we pass it into the AppFlow document prompt. We asked both LLMs the same prompt with the same inputs, and we decided to go with the ChatGPT AppFlow. And now we're going to do the same thing for our last step, to pass it into this prompt here to build the engineering requirements document. And let's see what that prompt looks like. So taking a step back, like, I'm a iOS engineer with about a decade of experience, and I've built a lot of apps in my in my career, so I knew exactly what I wanted in terms of like an asset at the end of this. You may have like a different use case for building this app, and you might have like a specific style that you want to build your apps in. But for me, I have like my style that's worked for me in the past. It promotes like best practices that I follow. So there's a lot of testing involved. There's a lot of clean separation, some principles of clean architecture, but you don't have to go this far. I think just generating an ERD prompt or an ERD with everything that we just took a look at will be enough. But I take it a step further because I know exactly what I'm looking for, given my extensive exposure and experience with iOS development. So I just wanted to kind of give folks a pretty strong warning that if you're not an expert, don't freak out. Like this is not expected of you, but for the professional iOS environment in terms of like producing production level code, these artifacts that are coming out of this would be what would be passing for like a code review situation. So I got really specific. Anyways, bringing it back to this prompt, I told the LLMs that, hey, I'm building an engineering requirements doc for a smoking addiction iOS app. I have the PRD, the AppFlow document, and screenshots of the app. Here's the technical stack that I would like to see. So I say, hey, I want to use SwiftUI for the views, a certain architectural pattern for the data orchestration. In the back end, I'll be using like Supabase. And once again, like I had a code structure in mind of what I wanted to, what my end goal will be. So I have it very specific of like, hey, my workspace will be here, my project files will be in this format, and this is the structure that I want the features built in. I don't want certain packages like SwiftLint, which is just like a tool to clean up the code. I want certain frameworks, and this is probably the most important part of this phase for everyone here is I I want the implementation to be broken down into distinct phases that don't include any time components. What I've noticed is that the LLMs have like said, hey, like this part of development will take like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Like we don't got time for that. Like I'm trying to knock this out like ASAP. So I don't want it to like bias my cursor agent to work slower just because there's like a time component in my like ERD. So anyways, I like to include this here so like my coding agent knows that I'm looking for it to like send out code pretty quickly. And for the ERD, I don't want to see any code because I want this more purely informational right now. Like I don't want any code at this phase. So that's another thing to keep in mind. And of once, as always, I do not want it to introduce scope. As you saw, like it's pretty easy for these LLMs to just generate extra work that you don't need at this stage of the development. What I like to say is I only build things for my customers or for my users. So unless like you got an app store review that said, hey, this is broken, or like, hey, like it'd be nice to have this feature, and they're like a paying customer, is the only time I would like go ahead and build something new. But from the start, like do not introduce scope because you're gonna waste time. All right, so bringing it back to the diagram, we are here. We're gonna pass in all of the context from previous, and let's take a look at ChatGPT first this time. Let's see what it produced. So it went ahead and shared some context of what it's building. Engineering doc. This looks good. Yep. So far, the introduction checks out. Architecture overview looks okay. Clean the architecture. Looks okay. Could have used like some more separation of concerns here, but I'm not too picky. Backend, so far so good. Code structure, I thought this section was lacking, to be honest with you. I think it does a decent job of capturing what I wanted it to look like, but this is what I gave to it. You know, this wasn't it going the step further and trying to set up the files for me in terms of the structure of the project. But you'll see that in the next LLM. This is basically just repeating what I had mentioned to it. Data model, this is pretty nice. Like I think the domain models typically are the most important components of the application, so it was cool that it kind of like outlined what those could look like. But yeah, it doesn't seem extensive enough for what I'm looking for. Core features and flows, it's okay. You know, I would have wanted a little bit more. Let's look at the implementation phase. Okay, so it's talking about project setup and authentication for the first phase. It's a decent plan, onboarding. So it's doing it in the phase that like the screenshots are coming in. So that's pretty good. Overall, and it talks a little bit about the technical considerations, which is a great sign. Offline support, that'll be big. Security, performance, these are great things. Unit testing, very nice. I think overall, I'd give this like a 3.5 out of 5. It's not terrible. Once again, I think it's like a decent starting point if you want to like bring this over to Cursor, but I think we can do better. So let's check out Claude. All right, so let's start from the top here. We have the engineering requirements document, technical architecture overview. This looks great. It understood without me typing it that like I'm looking for a reactive programming setup. Once again, this is like very specific to a certain type of like development pattern. Don't worry about this if you're a beginner. This is more for like to show you that it can produce like production level code that you would see in like a more corporate environment and a larger company and a larger code base. Loose coupling, this is great. Backend, yeah, this is like confirming to me that it understands what the backend services would be used for. Apple sign-in, talks a little bit about the data storage, real-time updates, this is great. And this is what I really, really, really love about the Claude LLM response, is that it gave me the project file code structure to like a file level of output, which is awesome. So it understood that like I'm building this all within a workspace that has main entry app point, views folder that contains views for each feature, some resources that will be used across all the views, and then the the Swift package that I'm building that'll contain all of the business logic, service layer. Um, yeah, this is awesome. This is exactly what I was looking for. Once again, your code base doesn't have to follow the structure, but in my experience, this is what has worked well for me. We even have the shared models here. This is awesome. I love this. And then it also holds space for the testing as well, because I may or may not set up like a CI/CD pipeline to make sure that like any change that I make needs to pass test before it gets merged to production code with GitHub. But anyways, that's a little that's a little advanced, and we're gonna skip on that advanced stuff for now. We're just gonna show you that these tools are very powerful. You know, I think if you use them the right way and you send the right prompts with the right context, you can build a lot of great things. And it talks about the output here, just walks through what each component may look like and what the main concepts that we'll be building there. This is awesome. It's showing me that like it understands the purpose of each file. This is all looking really good, and it's doing it on like a feature by feature basis, which is awesome. History and progress. This is exactly what I wanted. I would honestly give this like a 5 out of 5, and I'm not even done with the document yet. It's talked about common services. Yep, looks really good. Local storage service. Even dropped a little bit about the database schema. And while I may not need it right now, this is all like great context for Cursor to have down the road. This is awesome. Networking interface. This is perfect. Offline support looks good. Error handling, great. Performance requiring. View rendering. This is like even more advanced than I need it to be, but it's just like just great that it's thinking about these things. Security. Yes, it mentioned iOS keychain for sensitive data. This shows me that like it's thinking at the level of like a mid-level iOS engineer, which is awesome. Testing, perfect. Unit test. I may not need integration test. I'll probably just stick to unit test for the purposes of this like series, but it's cool that it's talked about this. Same for the UI test. Probably don't need it. And even though we don't need it, it's good to just keep here because we may introduce this later. But yeah, this all looks really great. Implementation phase. So let's take a look at this. Project setup looks awesome. Phase 2, awesome. And the way I like to think about phases, and you'll see this in the cursor part of the series, is that that'll be like milestones essentially of like, hey, my first milestone is to complete phase 1, and once I finish phase 1, I'm going to document that thoroughly, and then I'll start like a new cursor window with new context, but it can reference like this like implementation phase document to show, okay, hey, here's what's been completed and here's what's upcoming. Yeah, that's saved me so much time and energy figuring these tools out. So yeah, dependency. This is honestly, guys, this is exactly what I needed. So 5 out of 5. Shout out to Claude. All right. So bringing it all back, we walked through my entire workflow of setting up myself for success with agentic coding within Cursor. We have all of these documents. We have the Claude ERD. We have the app flow document built by ChatGPT, and then we have the PRD written by ChatGPT along with screenshots from Mobbin. And at this point here, we can stop because we now have all the assets we need to move over to Cursor. And yeah, I'm gonna stop the video here. If you found this valuable, go ahead and subscribe. If you want to see some more things, drop a comment. And yeah, all of these assets will be found at a link in the description. Yeah, thanks for following along. Peace.